welcome back to another video. I can finally say that now. It is technically another video, but it is the part 2 to the first episode. I underestimated just how much I had to work with. So I hope you bear with me. If this is the first time you comment on, I'll put in the description for part 1 so you can go back and get caught up and hopefully come back to this one. I know some of you will tell me not to worry, but I kind of wanted to apologise. Basically, most of my equipment broke down, so that's the reason why I'm filming on my phone. I can't use my microphone because I can't sync up with the picture. I can't use my video camera because the battery went on it, and unfortunately because of those, I don't know if you can hear that, but that's a car driving past that most likely will get picked up. It wasn't strange for me last night because I hear that noise all the time, but I'm sure for people who aren't used to traffic noises constantly, you probably heard it too. So I will do my best with what I've got to work with, but I think the most important thing here is to get the message out and to hear your story. So I hope you can bear with me. So with all that being said, we'll carry on and we'll go straight into question 3. So first person up to answer question 3 is Stacy C again, and she answers by saying the following: "It's made me more aware of people's opinions. I get angry a lot quicker with others. I'm more protective too. I've grown up quickly too, and it's hard realising you're on your own a lot." So up next for question 3 is Anonymous once more, and they answer the following question: "Since your child's birth, how has it changed you as a person?" Well, for a start, it's made us more patient people who try and look behind behaviour. We could probably qualify as psychologists with all the research we've done. We also fight for what we believe in tougher than anyone. As a parent of autistic children, you need to, because society just ain't quite there yet. It's getting better, but only if you shout real loud and become those parents. Finally, it helped us discover ourselves as we noticed our own traits and both got diagnosed with autism in our 40s. So next up is Bethtastic, and she answers by saying the following: "I know everyone says having kids changes you, but when that child has serious health conditions, disabilities, additional needs, it's even more dramatic a change, I think. Before I became a mum, I was selfish, spoiled, pampered, and to be honest, looking back, a bit of a brat. But literally from the moment my eldest was born and we knew she was dangerously ill, I became her champion and protector. We were told she wouldn't have made it through the pregnancy for at least 4 of her conditions, and yet she was fighting on, ignoring the specialist predictions and amazing them in the process. That knowledge and memory really, honestly, still pulls me through her worst times now, and she's nearly 19 years old." Again, that's relatable. I think we can all admit when we were young, we've all made mistakes, and we all tried to have a good time back in our younger days. So I think that's relatable probably to a lot of people. Until your child gets born, you sort of go into the role of parent then. So next up for question 3 is Joe Briggs tweets, and she answers the following question: "Since your child's birth, how has it changed you as a person?" Well, I know a lot more about autism than I did before. Does that count? I think it has made me realise what I need to use my energies on and what I don't. I suppose I was, probably still am, a people pleaser, and I found it hard to say no to anything or anyone for fear of letting them down. I'm much better at saying no now. I'm much clearer about my own limits. I know what I can take on and still stay with my head above water. I suffered with that in the past, and now I'm much more in tune with how I'm coping and what to do about it when I'm not. That wouldn't have entered my thought process before, Anna. I now have a very low tolerance threshold for people who are not living in the real world. I've never suffered fools gladly, and now I don't even entertain them. I'm definitely more accepting of difference than I was, whatever that difference is. I'd like to think that if you ask people about me, they'd say I was understanding, compassionate, and willing to help if I can." Joe raises, I think, two good points with her answer. The first being your own limitations. Me personally, I think most of us in our younger days, you think yourself as bulletproof, and especially when you haven't got children, and even living just on your own or as a couple, unless you've got an extraordinarily high pressure job, your stress levels are quite low. But when you start to get older and you do have children, they start to rise, and you do start to see that you have got limits. And many a time, me and my wife, and I'm sure many of you have reached those limits without realizing, and push yourself further, which isn't good. With our own limits, we do have to be careful, and that goes just as important for your mental health as it does your physical health. So that's a really good point. The second point is how we've changed and how we've become, as Joe says, understanding, compassionate, and willing to help if she can. Again, I think a lot of you could probably relate as well. When you do have a SEN child, those traits seem to be embedded in you automatically. I'm not saying I wasn't understanding, compassionate, and willing to help before my children. I think I was, but certainly they become sort of at the forefront of your personality. And this isn't just other families with disabled children. This is any from all walks of life. You seem to go out your way to help them. And I think that's because you do so much for your own children that when you do sort of come away from that and you see someone that needs help, it's ingrained in you that you go and help if you can. And again, I think you could all agree that we've all become much more better people for it. So yeah, two really good points there. Next up is Blogging Mama to answer question 3. And she answers by saying the following: I don't sweat the little things so much. I'm obviously more patient sometimes, and I've had to let go of self. I'm generally happier as I avoid all drama, conflict, and unnecessary expenditure of energy, but I am often lonelier too. So that's question 3 answered by everybody. In summary, I think there was a little bit more difference here due down to our personal circumstances. Obviously there's a difference between a partnership and a single parent. Obviously the workload's doubled when it comes to single parents. I'm not saying it's not difficult for a partnership, but obviously you don't get those breaks, even at naps, which obviously you know that I enjoy. You wouldn't be able to do that as a single parent because there's no one to pick up the slack. There's no one to look after the kids. So it was a really interesting question, that, to see what the difference was. And yeah, it's there is a big difference, and I think it makes me more appreciative of that I've got a partner to pick up the slack if I'm waning slightly. So yeah, a really good round of answers on that one. And we move on to question 4.
How have relationships been strained between partners and friends? Me and my husband split up 6 years ago. That explains that. With friends, my only real friends that I have now that I actually speak to on a regular basis are other parents of children with autism. They are people who understand me, people who understand how my children are at work. I don't have many friends that haven't got autistic children because they just don't have a clue how difficult it is. They'll say to me, oh, well, why don't you just run to the shop and do this? Why don't you just go and do that? Why don't you take them out for the day? Yeah, okay. Because I'm like a bloody octopus and I can run around like an absolute loon, chasing this child that way, that child that way, and that child, I don't know where she's gone. I ain't got a clue, she's gone. You know, it doesn't work that way. It isn't easy. Not by far. But I tell you what, I wouldn't change my kids for the world. I love my children. I love them to the end of the earth.
And that was Mama Bear once more. Again, raising a good point. And I think sometimes that it's not being selfish, but we do get lost in our own worlds. And it's one of the reasons why I'm doing this video, so we can open up and see how we deal with the things in our lives. Obviously, as Mama Bear said at the start of her video, that her husband left her. I'm married, I've got a partner, and it does make it easier. It does make it easier. A lot of our friends do have autistic children or disabled children, but we do have friends outside of that. The fact is that sometimes it is easier for couples because one could go out and the other one can look after the kids. So it's a little bit easier for those who have partners, that they can kind of have the same group of friends. It's not that couples don't make sacrifices, because it's not that I've lost friends. It's just that when you do have any type of SEN children, it does take up a lot of your time. It does. And going back to one of the earlier questions, sleep, I think Bethtastic mentioned it. When you're tired, you don't really want to socialise. You don't want to go out. You can't handle going out. And I haven't had an alcoholic drink in God knows how long, because the fact is, I can't handle the hangover the next day. Just the smell of alcohol would give me a raging headache. And as you all know, whether you've been ill or you've had a drink the next day, children don't accept that you feel ill. They expect the same attention, whether you feel $1 million or you feel really bad and your head's splitting. So Mama Bear made a very, very good point. The difference is when you're doing it by yourself, or when you have got someone there to help you, a partnership. So thanks for that. So next to answer question 4 is Stacy C again, and she answers by saying the following: me and my partner become stronger together, but my family is stronger but drifted too. I'm feeling alone a lot, as no one really visits us anymore apart from my partner's side. Being a full-time carer and mum is extremely hard and difficult, but rewarding too. But in times like this, it's even harder, as no one at all supports us carers/parents. More people need to understand autism and need to live in our shoes for a day or week to understand what we go through day in, day out. Right, so there's a brief intermission, because I'm sure it's going to come up on the comments. I've changed because this is the next day and I couldn't get all the filming done in one day. I could have worn the same jumper, but it didn't smell very nice, and yeah, so that's the reason why I'm wearing something different. So next up for question 4 is Anonymous again, and they answer the following question: how have relationships been strained between partners and friends? We have been very isolated over the years, as sensory overload would often mean the kids couldn't attend events, and they either wouldn't stay with most people or sitters couldn't handle them. Getting out for us as adults, therefore, was just as tough, and then people just stopped asking eventually. We've had to split our working hours over recent years, to meaning we both work part-time, wife days and me nights. That means we don't see each other as much now, and financially we're really strained over the last 3 to 4 years. As we are both also autistic, we have developed this strange telepathy where if one is heading to meltdown, the other steps in with the Zen. It doesn't always work, of course, but we're pretty good at it now. Like all couples, we've had our ups and downs, but in many ways we have become stronger for it, though all the heartache. We often joke that we're too autistic to split up, as it would change our routine too much. That's another good answer. And something slightly different as well, being autistic as yourselves. Obviously, you've got to get over your own sort of difficulties suffering from autism to look after an autistic child. So that's a really, really good answer, because it gives us another sort of point of view, especially when you suffer the same as your child does. Obviously, it's not going to be exactly the same, because again, autistic is a broad spectrum, but it's something different, and something that I never really thought about as parents with autism, looking after an autistic child. It must be difficult at times. So next for question 4 is back to Bethtastic, and she answers the following question. Since your child's birth, how has it changed you as a person? Friends without kids with any additional needs just don't get how complex and difficult our lives are, I don't think. Unless you've lived it, you just wouldn't understand how different our lives are. Next to answer question 4 is Joe Briggs tweets. Michael and I are a pretty solid team. We've been married 22 years this year and it's been good. An autism diagnosis does change things, is bound to. Things have been strained at times, of course they have, but mainly due to my frustrations at stuff. I think where he works full time, he often doesn't get the sheer weight of responsibility that comes with the endless paperwork of EHCPs, respite, direct payments, social services meetings, DLA tribunal, school communication, health issues. It's relentless. I half joke that if I went under a bus tomorrow, he wouldn't know where to start, and to be fair, he agrees. I'd like a bit of a breather sometimes. Friends. My best friend of 40 years is brilliant. She just understands and accepts. Otherwise, apart from not seeing people as much as we'd like, things haven't changed too much. Got a good group of friends from Anna's school. We're all in the same boat, so we just all crack on and we're all there for each other. Especially useful at the moment. They just all get it. Found my tribe, you could say. I've only actively lost one friendship. It was probably doomed anyway, but I wasn't prepared to put up with some of the comments she made. Don't know if they were born from ignorance or spite, but I don't give a headspace anymore. So another good answer by Joe there, and that's on the friends part. I don't know how it's been for others. I know obviously how it's been for Joe, but certainly with me and my wife, we had a group of friends, and some of them have drifted away since our boy was born. I just find that it's sometimes to do with, and you may still have those type of friends if you went and labelled some of them. Some of them are like attention seekers, and because you've had an autistic child, and obviously they become a big part of your life, so they feature in a lot of the stories you tell, the conversations you have. It can't really be one-upped, so they're finding that the attention they used to have is now more focused on you within sort of groups and everything, so they move away so they can get the attention back, and it's sad, but I always think that if that's the case, I wouldn't want those type of friends around in the first place anyway. So last question and very last answer, and this comes from Blogging Mama, and she answers the following question. How have relationships been strained between partners and friends? I'm now divorced, so that answers that question, and friendship group has definitely narrowed. I'm lucky to have a number of terrific friends, but we struggle to branch out and meet new friends. I have no school mum friends, for example, despite my children now being 11 and 12. I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit because as I've read through all of your answers, I felt like they were quite narrow. For instance, it's kind of brought that chain of thought on because of Blogging Mama's answer there, and that goes for sort of friends, other parents at school, and it is quite an interesting subject, that one just there, because for me, for example, I went out of my way to try and speak to other parents, because the year before Harrison while he was good friends with some of the children in this class, he didn't get many birthday invites, and I went out my way to try and break some of these social circles. And I'm not going to lie to you, it's very, very scary, because you've got these groups of 5 or 6 people. They're all huddled and they're all talking, and you've got maybe a 5-minute window until all the kids come out, and then you all go off. So I started with just saying hello as they passed, and you'll find maybe a surprised look because they don't really know you, but they will say something back, hello and whatever. And it kind of went from there, and I was trying to gauge what sort of common similarities we had so I could carry on conversations, and eventually sort of standing next to people, and the group would grow and you'd be within that group. So it's not universal advice, because maybe some might be might be daunting to some, but it really did help in the way that people got to know me, they got to know my wife, they got to know my boy. And certainly, while he doesn't get invited to all birthday parties, that number has certainly gone up now because they know me and my wife. So if you can, try and just speak to other parents before you pick up your kids, and hopefully they'll get to know you, they'll get to know your kids, and realise there's nothing to fear. So that is the end of episode 1, part 2. I will make it less confusing next time. Obviously this is all very new to me, but I'm extremely proud, not just of myself, but all of you. And that's the message I want to get across, is this platform is for you guys as well as me, but it is for you guys. I may type up and read out some of your answers and put a video together, but the whole purpose is to inform others, to make you feel better, to get things off your chest. And I'm hoping that it's done that. I'm hoping that you can sort of come away from this video realizing you're not alone and you're doing things right. You're good parents. In fact, no, that's wrong. You're not good parents. You're great parents. You have been dealt a hand that most people don't get, and you've taken it and you've hit it head on, and you've taken life by the scruff of the neck, and you've carried on. So I hope you all realise how sort of proud you should be of yourselves, not just for taking part in everything, but for everything that you do. And I'm sure when our children do grow up, you will get that response. They will, whether they have kids or partners or whatever, those stories about you and what you did for them, they will come up, and they will say for every single one of you that they were extremely proud. So on that note, I'm going to end the video. We have got quite a lot of people wanting to take part in this, so I think we may be up to episode 5. I'm going to try and streamline it and make things easier. Obviously, like I said, it was a bit confusing, but I've kind of had this idea and then just jumped 2 feet first, and that might have been the wrong way of doing it, but I was very passionate, excited about putting this together. But maybe I should have taken a little bit of time to plan a little bit, but I will get there. So yeah, I'll end the video, and I hope you enjoyed it, and like and subscribe if you did. Obviously there's going to be a lot more episodes delving into a lot of different questions and different parents as well. So I will see you next time.